It is good though, isn't it? Premier League being back. I mean, no disrespect to the Nations League. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Yeah. It's good for the Premier League to come back, and it's coming back with a bang as well. Obviously, all these derbies, North London derby on Saturday, live on talkSPORT this Saturday as well. Reshman Chowdhury, Sam Matterface and the gang. It is good, isn't it? Are you a fan of the Nations League? Or you can be honest.
No, yeah and no. I think obviously it's a lot more competitive in terms of them friendlies that we used to have were a bit pointless. But yeah, look, at the same time, look, now England have been relegated.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. And then it's obviously shown that we need to be better and improve. And I suppose when I spoke to the players, I do think they have preferred, this Nations League tournament vibe rather than playing against, friendlies against, dead opposition.
Yeah,
so to speak.
It is big games, isn't it? And when you look at this one, Hungary, Germany, Italy, it's big games. If you're a fan of the Welsh team, look at who they played as well, the Netherlands, Belgium, Poland. That's what you want. You don't want to be playing your San Marinos and your Liechtensteins. You get nothing from those type of games.
No, you don't. And I think, as Danny was saying, it depends really on the caliber of the opposition. The kind of games we saw before the Nations League came in were very uninspiring, actually quite boring. I'd been to quite a few games at Wembley where fans were making paper planes and chucking them down. Wow. So I think that it's not great, but it's. I always say fans have that emotional investment and that financial investment in the game, and if you go and you watch and it's not particularly inspiring, you are able to make your own statement, and that's what they were doing. I think the Nations League is starting to take shape. We're seeing with some groups quite tight, the appetite, the desire to win. There is something at stake with the Nations League. Personally, I think particularly as far as England are concerned, I'm looking to see what England does take shape throughout the Nations League. So I would have liked to have seen much more experimenting with different systems, with different players. I have to say I was a little bit disappointed the last couple of games, not necessarily with the results, but the fact that there are so many players playing who we know everything about.
You don't think he's learnt that much in the last few
I don't think he has. I don't think he has. Do you disagree?
No, I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure you.
There's only maybe a couple of things that he's learned, if we're being honest. Maybe that Nick Pope's not number 2. I think we know that, right? Ramsdale's number 2 now because of Nick Pope's mistakes. That's it. And maybe that Jude can come in straight away and be that person alongside Declan Rice. Apart from that, the Nations League campaign for Gareth Southgate has been a failure.
Well, look at the questions we needed answering. What would Ivan Toney be like in an England shirt? We didn't even get to see a single minute of that. What other systems could we use? Have we evolved since the Euros? Can we play front foot football? Well, we found that in the last 20 minutes of the last game, but I would have liked to see that from the start in one of the games with a different system and maybe different players. Sorry, Dan.
Just touching on the Ivan Toney scenario, I know he's obviously been fantastic this season, but do you think there's something that Gareth Southgate's seen or not seen in training for him to not put him on? Now, I'm not saying he deserved his call up. We don't know because we don't find out enough information. But did he? How was he in training?
You've got your contacts, Danny. Get on the phone and let us know. We know that you know someone in that England camp. Has he? Honestly, because that's the only. I'm agreeing with you. By the way, that's the only explanation. Him and Fikayo Tomori. He's obviously seen something in training. They're not injured, so he's obviously seen something and he's thought, you know what? This late, this close to a World Cup. There's no point. I know my 26.
But let me flip that around.
Yeah.
Have there been players who've not been particularly inspiring in training in your career that you've come across, but when they go onto the pitch in a competitive game, they're tremendous, and vice versa?
100%. Like there's been players. I won't mention too many names. I don't want to dig them out. But there's been players that actually are just not good in training. If we pick out the worst player, when you get a bib for being the worst player, but then on a Saturday they're fantastic. And I've also seen, like you just said, players that are unbelievable in training just with the lads. Then when you go out on a Saturday in front of thousands and thousands of people with the pressure, then they're not as good as they are in training, and you'll see it every week.
And can I ask you one other thing with that? You started off by saying maybe he's seen something in training. For people who are listening who go, what does that mean? Who has seen something in training? What is it that you could see in training that might make a manager think, I'm not sure about X or Y person?
No, listen, some lads just thrive off that pressure on a Saturday and that get that feeling, and in training they're just not that up for it, so to speak. And I know the fans don't want to hear that, but there is lads who you say you got to train as you play, and that was always me. I had to have a good week's training, especially on a Friday. I had to be at it to feel like I'm going to play well on a Saturday. But with some players, if they've not done well in training, and then they play well on a Saturday, you see that kind of pattern, and then the manager will get to learn, actually, I know he's not training that well, and other lads probably will use his name in a meeting with the manager saying he doesn't train well, but you're still picking him, and it does become a bit of an issue for the manager. But if the players turning it on a Saturday and performing, then there's not too much you can say.
Just one more from me before I hand back to you, Addy.
Go ahead.
You won the league, so you're a fantastic reference point in terms of some of these questions. Were there players in your team, and obviously you don't need to name them, but were there players in your team who weren't necessarily brilliant trainers, but again, they were part of that side that won the league?
Under the bright lights, delivered.
Because they did. I mean, how much more can you deliver than winning the Premier League?
All right, for example, you won't mind me saying it. Jamie Vardy wasn't an unbelievable trainer, because you think about his attributes. You know, he's running in behind, his pace, his speed. So if we're not saying he's a bad trainer, but if we're doing 5-a-side, 6-a-side, then listen, he was decent. But I'm talking about, if you're talking about a Jamie Vardy, who's been for me one of the best strikers,
absolutely,
since he's got into the Premier League, I wouldn't say that matches up with his training level. Yeah. But we also know that on a Saturday, he can have a down day on a Friday, because we know on a Saturday he's gonna get one chance and he scores. And I don't think he gets enough credit actually for his finishing. It's absolutely fantastic, and he gets one chance. You know he's gonna score, and I think that's an example for me of someone that you can't really say too much about, because he will deliver on a Saturday.
If you are an Ivan Toney, we are going to talk. Don't worry, I know Leicester City fans are thinking, talk Leicester with him. We are going to talk Leicester, I promise.
And then you start talking Leicester, go, no, talk about Ivan Toney.
but if you are an Ivan Toney and a Tammy, and you're seeing the clock wind down and you're thinking, I might have a chance here, last 20 minutes might get a go, what are they going to be thinking? Sort of being on the bench and not getting that opportunity, especially Ivan Toney, just to get that cap.
They're frustrated. They'll be chatting to the mates, probably the manager of the club, the teammates, saying it was a waste of time. Yeah, it's an honour to be called up for your country, and it shows that you're doing well at your current club. But to not get any minutes, it's a waste of time. I've played with players that have come back and said that.
Really?
Yeah. And yeah, they're not going to come out publicly and say that, because as I said, it's an honour to play for England. But like you said, if they're doing so well for the club and not getting minutes, it's like, what more? It gets to a point where it's like, what more can I do?
Was you ever earmarked for an England cap? Did you ever get that phone call where we're looking at you, Danny, impress a bit more, keep running, we're looking at you?
I did actually, yeah. I think I was on standby. It was a physio. I think what happens is the England physio rings your club physio, checks on the injury status, and I thought they was winding me up, to be honest. This is obviously while I was winning the Premier League. And then the kit man at the end of the game gave me a big black bag. You must have seen the lads with the big black bag with the boots in, and I thought, he's not winding me up, actually.
It's the famous black bag.
Yeah, but then I got excited waiting for the phone call, and it didn't come. I was on standby, and that was as closest as I got, but I still got excited. The black bag with your boots.
Imagine that very quickly, listening to that. Imagine that. So that's just being on standby. The excitement. Imagine if you are Ivan Toney, as we've said, where you've gone past standby, you've been called up, you're in the squad, you're on the bench.
You're doing the press release.
It's almost
the press conference as well.
Put in front and centre. It's almost, I wouldn't say a meaningless game against Germany, because they never are, but it's a dead rubber. And you still don't get 15 or 20 to show what you can do against a German side that are always solid. Even German sides going through transitional phases, always solid. You don't get a minute. No,
and we've seen enough of Harry Kane, haven't we? So why not put one of them up front? Like, what, we know what Harry Kane can do. Every single one of us. You don't have to be the England manager to know that. So yeah, I think everyone's quite disappointed that we didn't get to see him or Tammy at least start or get 20 minutes.